Fox News has a message for the medical community who may be hesitant to accept artificial intelligence.
AI is not Big Brother. See, here's where the confusion comes in. AI is already being used in radiology to make diagnoses that doctors don't yet see. Mass General came up with one where it looks where lung cancer is going to develop before it even develops. Cardiology way in advance of the cardiologist. Doctors learn to take the information that AI brings them and use it, not be shy, not be defensive. It's like any other piece of equipment, and it learns from its mistakes and does more and more.
A retired Secret Service agent is pleased with President Trump's pick to be the new director of the Secret Service.
No one can forget the iconic picture of Donald Trump with a bloody ear, holding up his fist and declaring, "Fight, fight, fight." It has become one of the enduring symbols of his election victory. And if you look to his right, there is Sean Curran, the leader of the Secret Service Personal Detail. And now Curran is poised to be promoted to director of the Secret Service by the president. Curran replaces the current acting director of the U.S. Secret Service, Ronald Rowe, who took over after the previous director decided to step down after the assassination attempt in Pennsylvania. Ken Ballin served 24 years with the Secret Service, including 10 years with the Presidential Protection Detail, and is author of Cheating Death. He knows Curran well.
He is a great Secret Service agent. Trump obviously thinks the world of Sean and is propelling him from his current position over a lot of people that he doesn't know or trust into the number one leadership role there.
So Valentine says he defers to President Trump.
He now knows him better than I do, and I suspect that Sean will be given every opportunity to do great things and to restore some of the focus to the Secret Service that has been the hallmark of their past that they have not been leading towards of late.
And Valentine rejects the argument that Curran hasn't had upper-level management positions.
There's this bias in all of them as well. You can't go from halfway down the leadership polls to reading the top, and I tend to disagree. I think he's done a great job with the roles that he's been given.
I'm Chad Groening.
For American Family News, almost GPU.
Today, Christians are facing challenges in homeless ministry. In 2023, homelessness reached its highest level since reporting began in 2007, even affecting families with children, unaccompanied youth, and the elderly. Homeless ministries require long-term commitment and support, not quick fixes. Pastor Jim Yates advises taking manageable steps when building a homeless ministry. Read the full article, Compassion, It's a Messy Business, by me, Jordan Shambley, on thestand.net.
Welcome to Real Truth for Today with Pastor Jeff Shreve, Senior Pastor, First Baptist Church in Texarkana, Texas. Now, here's Pastor Jeff.
Well, good morning and welcome to Real Truth for Today. Pastor Jeff Shreve here. Hope you had a good night's sleep and are having a good morning. Debbie and I have really been struggling with sleep lately. I don't know what it is, but she wakes up about 1 o'clock in the morning and is up for a couple hours, and then I seem to wake up about 3. I don't mind getting up at 4, but 3 is a little early, and then it makes you kind of draggy for the rest of the day. But I hope that you slept well, and I wanted to read to you from 1 Kings chapter 19. 1 Kings 19 is a very famous chapter in the Old Testament. 1 Kings 18 is the showdown on Mount Carmel between Elijah and the prophets of Baal, and the Lord showed the big question, how long will you hesitate between two opinions? If the Lord is God, if Yahweh is God, follow him, but if Baal, follow him. And the people didn't answer Elijah's question. They were riding the fence. They were hesitating between two opinions. You can't do that. And the devil owns the fence, as you probably heard me say and others say. And so you can't ride the fence of compromise. Well, that day the Lord proved that the God of Baal is not a God at all. He didn't answer. They called on Baal from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. He didn't answer. They cut themselves with lances and the blood flowed. He didn't answer because he's not God. Well, when Elijah called on the name of the Lord answered in mighty power, and the prophets of Baal were slain. Now, Elijah, and then God brought an end to the drought that had been going on for so long. Now, Elijah, no doubt, thought this was going to bring about a great revival in Israel. Israel was led by wicked Ahab and Jezebel at that time. But he got afraid in 1 Kings 19 because Jezebel said that she was going to kill him. And for some reason, this mighty prophet got afraid. He began to run, and he ran all the way from came to Beersheba. He goes south, and he runs and runs and runs. He ends up, the Lord ministers to him, but he ends up on Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. Moses had met with God there at the burning bush, Exodus chapter 3. That's where Moses also met with God to receive the 10 Commandments. Very interesting. The two people who met with God on Mount Horeb, Moses and Elijah, were the ones that met with Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration, Moses and Elijah. So the Lord asks Elijah on Mount Horeb, he shows himself to Elijah, and then he says, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And Elijah says the same thing to him. "I've been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the sons of Israel have forsaken your covenant, torn down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword, and I alone am left, and they seek my life to take it away." So he said, "Go forth and stand on the mountain before the Lord." And behold, the Lord was passing by, and a great and strong wind was rending the mountains and breaking in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of a gentle blowing, a still small voice. And when Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood in the entrance of the cave. And behold, a voice came to him and said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And so Elijah repeats the same thing. And this is what the Lord tells Elijah. The Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. And when you have arrived, you shall anoint Hazael king over Aram, and Jehu, the son of Nimshi, you shall anoint king over Israel, and Elisha, the son of Shaphat of Abel Maholah, you shall anoint as prophet in your place. And it shall come about the one who escapes from the sword of Hazael, Jehu shall put to death, and the one who escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elijah shall put to death. Yet I will leave 7,000 in Israel, all the knees that have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him." Now, what is all that for? I want to speak to you today on the subject of the speed of change in leadership. The speed of change in leadership. Now, all eyes are on President Donald Trump. Big day, on Monday, his inauguration, the 47th president. Everybody's talking Trump, Trump, Trump. The liberals are groaning and crying and shrieking. And that is only going to get worse because Trump has 4 years to really focus in on making America great again. He wants to bring about law and order and common sense morality and liberty and justice for all. Things that we would all say, yes, we are for, but we have seen those things be dismantled under Joe Biden and all the executive orders he signed when he was inaugurated as president. We learned from Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, that Biden didn't even know some of the things that he was signing, especially toward the middle to the end of his presidency. He was just signing stuff. He didn't even know he signed it. But we all knew that he was declining rapidly. But here's the thing: when you take over as a leader, and the house is a mess, your nation is a mess. You come to the church, you're a brand new pastor, and you just see things that are being done wrong because we just do it that way, and it's just a mess. It's not right. You take over a football team or a basketball team, it's like the movie Coach Carter. He takes over this team that's struggling and winning 3 or 4 games a season, and he's like, we're making major changes because we're not going to continue to lose. Well, to do that requires change, and people don't like change. And so you can talk about change, just like when I came to First Baptist Texarkana, and when I have interviewed with other churches over the years, Yeah, they all say, "Oh, what do you want to see happen?" Well, I want to see us baptize all these people, and I want our baptism service every Sunday to last so long, and I want to see us just make an impact in this community and beyond. It's like, okay, well, how is that going to happen? See, they want it to happen. They want all the good things to happen without changing anything. Well, that's the definition of insanity. Doing the same things over and over and expecting a different result. You don't get a different result. We used to have, when I was at the University of Texas, the old phrase was GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. From a computer language standpoint, you have to change what you're putting in. Because if you keep putting in garbage, you're going to keep getting out garbage. If you keep doing the same things over and over and over again, you're not going to get the changes that you desire. So the speed of change in leadership. Now, many people have likened Donald Trump to King Jehu. Now, the Lord picked Jehu, and he told Elisha, hey, you go and you anoint Jehu as king over Israel. Now, Jehu was following Ahab and Jezebel. Ahab and Jezebel were the worst of the worst of the worst. I mean, they were wicked, wicked, wicked people. And Jezebel was more wicked than Ahab. Ahab was weak, and Jezebel was wicked and power hungry, and so she incited him to do terrible things. And the Bible makes it clear that they were the king and queen of evil. And so Jehu was going to wipe that out. He was going to bring reform, and he did. So it says in something that I pulled up, BibleStudyTools.com, what was Jehu known for? King Jehu overthrew the wicked kings Ahaziah of Judah and Ahab of Israel. Tasked by the prophet Elijah, Jehu joined his predecessor Elisha. Those can be tough to remember, Elijah and Elisha. Elijah came first. He joined his predecessor Elisha and began to overthrow the wicked idolatry and worship of Baal. Jehu is known for dismantling the evil king Ahab and his dynasty. The wicked wife of King Ahab was thrown over a balcony at Jehu's order. When they went out to bury her, they found nothing except her skull, her feet, and her hands. A brutal death to fulfill Elijah's prophecy. Now, Jehu wasn't a perfect guy, and he did some things, and he crossed the line. He obeyed the Lord, and then he went beyond. And so, nobody in Scripture, with the exception of very, very few, I mean, obviously nobody's perfect, but most of the time when the Bible writes about a guy, it paints him warts and all. The exception would be Joseph in the book of Genesis. There's not a lot that you can point at that was negative about Joseph. And then Daniel. You can't find any dirt on Daniel. But the other leaders in the Old Testament, I mean, David was a great leader, a man after God's own heart. He's the standard bearer for good kings. But we know that David wasn't perfect. We know about his sin with Bathsheba, which was a terrible sin. That's the hot-blooded, passionate sin of adultery. Lust just took off in his heart, and he let that go. His sin against Uriah the Hittite, Bathsheba's husband, that was worse. That was far worse. Adrian Rogers said in a sermon one time, I've never forgotten it. He said, when King David sinned with Bathsheba, that was a hot-blooded sin. But when he sinned against Uriah the Hittite, that was a cold-blooded sin. That was a calculated sin. That was a sin that says Bathsheba's pregnant. Uriah is going to know that he's not the father because he's been away in battle. Uriah needs to die. How can I do that? Well, I'll just send a note to Joab the general by the hand of Uriah the Hittite, who was too honorable to look at the note. He wouldn't do that. And he handed the note to Joab, and the note said from King David, put Uriah in the fiercest part of the battle and then withdraw from him. And Uriah would die in battle and die a hero as he was there, fighting for his country. But then he was able, after Bathsheba's time of mourning, to take her as his wife. Well, the thing that David did, 1 Samuel chapter 11, the thing that David did was evil in the sight of the Lord. That's the only part that mentions the Lord as the last verse in 2 Samuel chapter 11. But then 2 Samuel chapter 12, Nathan the prophet is sent to to David, and he calls him out. So David's not a perfect king. And hey, guess what? You're not perfect either, and I'm not perfect, and there is no perfect pastor, and there's no perfect senator, and there is no perfect congressman, and there is no perfect president. So Donald Trump is definitely not a perfect guy. He's going to make some mistakes, but he has been touted with the mandate from the people. We need to have change, and Trump is going to make changes. Now, to make changes, you're going to upset the apple cart, and he is the guy that is willing to do that. You have to have thick skin to do that. You have to be willing to be vilified and brutalized in the media and in the press and still keep going. Well, he has the hide of a rhinoceros. He is able to do that. And so you're going to hear from the left shrieks and squeals like you've never heard before, because Trump is going to bring reform. And he's already started. As one article that I read, Trump says bye to DEI. And he said in his inaugural address, hey, there are only two genders. And he was inaugurated on Martin Luther King Day. And so he said, what is his dream? My 4 little children would be judged on the content of their character, not on the color of their skin. Well, what is DEI about? Well, it's about the color of your skin. It's not about the content of your character. DEI is quotas. It's not about finding the best person for the job, regardless of race, creed, or color. It's all about race, creed, and color. So today, the Federal Office of Personnel Management notified heads of agencies and departments that they must begin taking steps to close all diversity, equity, and inclusion offices by the end of day today. And they will put workers on paid leave. They'll take down all websites, social media sites, withdraw any documents or directives, and cancel any DEI training and terminate any contracts. That needs to take place, and he is not letting the grass grow under his feet. But he's that kind of guy. He's a person of action. That's what we need today to bring about reform. That's what Jehu did. That's what Hezekiah did. That's what Josiah did in the Old Testament. Not perfect people, but people who saw we need to get back to God, and we need to get back to common sense, and we need to drive out the Baal worship that has infiltrated the country. You're listening to Real Truth for Today. Pastor Jeff Shreve here. We'll be right back after the break.
With today's Dr. Dobson Minute, here's Dr. James Dobson.
You may remember that during the 1960s, the Surgeon General declared cigarettes to be harmful to the smoker's health. But something we don't hear as much about are the health hazards of divorce. Many studies have revealed the emotional and financial impact of divorce on couples and their children. But less well known is the research showing that divorce actually puts people at a higher risk for both psychiatric and physical disease. Physicians now believe this is because the emotional trauma of divorce stresses the body and lowers the immune system's defense against disease. Now, we all know that divorce is sometimes inescapable, but it should certainly be avoided for reasons of convenience and mild irritation. In the light of today's evidence, perhaps the Surgeon General should consider warning married couples about the potential health risks of divorce.
For more information on this topic, visit drdobsonminute.org.
Tragically, every day, thousands of babies never get a chance at life. But in the midst of this darkness, we can be the change. While the abortion giants are busy ending babies' lives, Preborn's network of clinics are busy saving babies' lives and leading mothers to Christ. Preborn's network of clinics have rescued over 300,000 babies and have led over 80,000 women to Christ. You see, when a mother meets her precious baby on ultrasound and hears their heartbeat, her maternal instinct kicks in. This is God's plan, and the majority of the time, she will choose life. This is Bert Harper. Would you join AFR this week in helping to offer life to 4,500 babies? $28 will sponsor one ultrasound. $5,000 underwrites the entire network for a day. To donate, please go to afr.net That's AFR.net, or call now at 877-616-2396.
You know, the new year is a great time to reconsider how we do things, like how to make things better in 2025. Like when it comes to the whole struggle of how to pay for your health care, people generally are not happy with the status quo. But there's good news. There's a much better option, and it's proven too. MediShare is refreshing. You can save thousands of dollars a year. Many save up to $500 a month, seriously. And you get to choose from a huge network of doctors and providers. And maybe the best part, and we know this from research on why people join MediShare, they love this. Instead of sending your money every month to a huge corporation that might fund all sorts of procedures or things you don't believe in, you're joining a faith-based network of people who actually care about each other. And like I said, that's refreshing. There is a better option. You don't have to do it the way you've always done it. You can make a change and start saving now. Here's the number. They're easy to talk to. Call 833-44-BIBLE. That's 833-44-BIBLE. 833-44-BIBLE.
This is Real Truth for Today. Podcasts of the program are available on the podcast page at afr.net. Now, back to Pastor Jeff Shreve.
I'm Pastor Jeff Shreve here. We're talking about the speed of change in leadership. When I came to First Baptist Texarkana in February of 2003, it seemed like the church was excited. There were a few, I think there were 6 people that voted against me to come, but many were excited, and I was excited. But then, I see things as black and white, as right and wrong, as this is good, this is not good. And I started seeing things at the church. Now, I was told, hey, you take 6 months. Don't change anything. Just get to know the people. Take 6 months before you change anything. But I just couldn't do that because I saw things that were broken, and I said, hey, we got to fix this. And so we started changing things. And Larry Sims, our associate pastor, used to call me, he called me the agent of change. And I still remember meeting with some of the deacons one morning. We would meet once a week. And I said, here's the thing, because people in church, they're just like people. They don't like change. They can handle some change, but if there's too much change, they start to freak out. And so I said to these deacons, I said, here's the real issue at our church. How much surgery can FBC Texarkana endure before Pastor Jeff dies? Because you change and change and change, and finally the people say, enough change, we're going to change you, and we're going to get rid of you. And so I came close to that edge, and by the grace of God, I was not fired, but there were changes that needed to happen. And praise God that, here we are 22 years later, be 22 years on February 9th for me. We're at a good place. But, that could have derailed had, I came close to the edge. And so with President Trump, we think about all that to say with President Trump, he is going to make changes. He's already started. Day one, signed almost 200 executive orders. He is making changes. He's ratcheting up law and order. And he's going to, he declared that the border is a crisis, and he's putting military there, and he's going to start getting the bad actors that have crossed our border illegally, get them out of the country and round them up. And Tom Homan is working to do just that. And so those are things that need to take place. But now you have people on the left that will just shriek and cry and, oh, we can't do that. And, Trump went on Tuesday, he went to the Washington National Cathedral for a prayer service. And I guess that's part of the deal on, when you come into office. That is